computer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a note to myself to remind you of a few things. One is that there's no class on April
April.
1st. April 1st, there's no class. I made a mistake. The class is on um, April 8th.
Correct.
Um, I'm going to ask you for the class on March 25th to try to see the film Helene. And so for part of our discussion, I'd love to hear your take on the film. That would be for March 25th.
Okay.
So, so now we're going to take off April 1st, and on April 8th, um, I would like you to write something for me. Um, let's call it an essay, but let's not be intimidated by that title. Let's call it a piece of writing that could be an essay, could be a informal essay. And this informal essay between 15 and 25 lines, between 3 and 4 minutes. Okay. So the way I see it is it's like 1 page or less typed. Okay. And when I send you the recording tomorrow, I'll write something about what you should be thinking about when you write this. But for now, I'm just going to say a few things. So your essay should show that you're providing information on what you're looking at. And you're going to be looking at one of the pictures that you have seen, or one of the artists that you've seen, but particularly a picture. So I'm going to call the information that you're writing about that artist slow looking, slow looking. So that means that you're not rushing by, you're not walking by quickly, you're eyeballing this and you're showing the reader or the listener that you've really looked at this. There's no when someone reads what you wrote or listens to it, there's no doubt that you really cared about this. You really looked at it. So a good essay shows you're giving information. In this case, the category would be slow looking. Um, and you're also presenting a point of view. That's a marriage of two elements, the slow looking and a point of view. So in the slow looking part, you have categories like line, tone, color, poetry, emotion, composition, intensity, um, palpability, materiality, what the feeling of the paint is, what the materials feel like. Thin, thick, mushy, vaporous, watercolor-like, impastoed, super thick, heavy, very heavy. Okay, so I'm going to reiterate this in my note tomorrow, so you'll really understand this.
So,
And then you're going to be writing this for April 8th. So you'll be off the 1st. So you'll have some time, extra time to think about this. And I'm going to provide you with the possible topics in the next week or so. So you'll choose one of those topics, and there'll be like six or seven of them that you can choose from.
Hmm.
So you're going to take this as a challenge, and it's non-competitive, okay? The idea is you write out of who you are, what your prism is, what your way of thinking is, what your way of understanding life is, your way of understanding the world. And you don't have the same understanding. All of you have different prisms for seeing life. So you can only compare it to yourself, really. In other words, is this my prism? Yeah, it could be a little better. Or maybe it's not exactly this. Maybe I should have gone down that street, not this street. But it's really about you. It's not about the other person. It's about what are you projecting? What do you care about? What do you think about? So you should give it a shot. And what the writing does is it gets you to organize your thinking and come up with a way of seeing the world. Uh, any questions up to now?
Simon, are we talking about one painting?
One or two, one or
Oh,
two,
okay.
one by itself or two comparing them. But
Okay.
we'll get to that. But
Right.
this is a good starting point.
Okay.
Um, so um, so this past Friday, I went to see the exhibit of Helene Schjerfbeck at the Metropolitan Museum, and this is a very, very good exhibit. Uh, I would say it's an exhibit that is not to be missed. It's that good. Um, so why is it that good? It goes outside the rectangle. It takes you outside where the paint is to another point.
Mhm.
Let's call that other point X. So it takes you to X, and X for really good art is where you want to be. That's that's where you're going. In reading a book, in seeing a great movie, you are want to go to X. And from my view, this took me out. Um, so I've gotten to know this artist's work in the last 20 years. She is from Finland, very individualistic. Um, Her work starts off very naturalistic direction. If she isn't a child prodigy, she's very close to one. So in her early 20s, she is doing highly advanced painting, um, very technically super stunning painting. Um, now, she does not see Impressionist and post-Impressionist art in person. She sees them through reproduction, and she's drawn to artists like Gauguin, Cézanne. Eventually, she goes to Paris to study, and her work starts to change after she does this. And it becomes less naturalistic, more influenced by those artists, maybe Munch. Munch would be another one. But she didn't have to go to
Mm.
Paris to see Munch. She would have seen his work in Scandinavia. Um, in one of the exhibits that I saw of her work, um, there was a point made by mentioning that when she made this change, she took some of her paintings that were very naturalistic and did another painting of the same subject, but painted in this new way, this new modernist way. She doesn't stand still. Okay. Her work has an explorative direction. So, from my point of view, thinking to myself, why? The work that she starts with is so highly skilled and talented. Why do this? Why change? The change is risky. She's not sitting on her laurels. She's pushing out. This is a very hard thing to do. And many people will not do this. In other words, they've achieved something and they stay with it, or they sit on their laurels. She's pushing out. In the show at the Met, the show is in the Robert Lehman collection. And the Robert Lehman collection is circular, especially on the ground floor, on the basement floor, but even so on the second floor. But this show is on the basement floor. So when you walk around in a circle, you are, in a sense, following her voyage. You are following the 83 years of her voyage, 84 years. Oh, her dates are 1862 to 1946. Um, One thing that's important to understand is that at 4 years old, she has an accident. I think she falls down a flight of stairs and injures her hip and is left with a limp for the rest of her life. Something about her life and spirit comes through to me as being melancholy. She seems challenged in some way, and in some ways, psychologically challenged. I, I, one can't say for sure, but that's a hunch. So the art and artist possessed not just talent, but a fierce will, and she had a stubborn pursuit of her art. The willfulness of the artist. This is a fascinating idea. The exhibit makes me think of the courage and nerve and audaciousness of her artistic decisions. Now, here I'm going to say something which I hope doesn't offend you, but I'm not sure if it is possible to say this. But this type of character that I'm describing is hard enough if you are a male, but a female in those years, 1862 to
43.
1946, um, is something else to me. And I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm not saying this um, uh, a truth in nature. I'm saying it based on the societies we live in. Okay, it's not a genetic thing. It's really how people see themselves based on their societies. So if you want to take off your hat and say, "Good for you," um, this is like good for you times 10. I mean, this is quite striking. Um, so I think I'm going to show you some pictures now. Um, let me see if I can do this here. Here. Okay. What do I press to make this go full screen?
If you go all the way to the left at the top, it says play from start.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little screen picture with
Oh
a
yeah,
little.
yeah. I see it.
Okay.
I see it. Um, okay. So
Is it full screen?
yeah, for me. It's full screen now.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So let me go past where we were. Okay. So this would be an example of the more naturalistic direction. And um, I've read a bit about this painting, and I believe that this is one of the most well-known Finnish paintings and got a lot of response. Um, I I'm I hope I remember this right, but I think that she was 21 years old when she did this painting. Um, so this is really quite striking. Um, and I thought to start with a bunch of these paintings first. Um, okay. Same thing, maybe in her early 20s when she does this one.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Are these really large, really small? Do we know the size?
good, good, very good question. Really good. Uh, I would say, I would say maybe 3 feet, 3 to 4 feet,
Okay.
maybe closer to 3 feet, like say 40 inches, 38 inches, something like that. Um, yeah.
Okay.
And for the rest of you, the question that Anne asked is a very good question because when you scan something, you want to know how big it is. So if this is 18 inches wide or this is 72 inches wide, it makes a difference. Okay. So when you think about it, your your mind is absorbing one size or another. In general, her pictures are not large. In general, um, very nice touch that the paint has, and I think that she began painting as a child, and really was very, very talented. Uh, I think that this is one of the biggest paintings, and I'm going to guess this might be 4 feet wide. Uh, this is not a great reproduction. It's a really quite an interesting painting. And the painting is curious because the theme of the painting could maybe someone turn off their sound, turn off the sound. Yeah, thanks. So the painting is of a uh, you have to mute the sound. Okay? Okay. So the painting is of a Jewish family somehow in Finland, and it's of what hey, you have to mute the sound, please. Everyone should mute the sound.
Okay.
Okay? And then when you want to speak, you'll unmute it.
I think Ron still doesn't have it muted, but everybody else looks muted.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. That's great. So she does this painting of this family for a Jewish holiday called Sukkot. And I don't know the uh, symbolism of the holiday, but there's a house that's built. And so this house is built for prayer or to commemorate something. And these are people inside that sukkahs or sukkah. Um, I don't think that's crucial to know. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't think that's crucial. But it's interesting. Um, so her paintings are concerned with simple everyday objects like the scene on the left. And this is her. Um, she's a very intense looking woman. I have some other photographs of her as well. Um, this is a smallish painting. I'm going to guess maybe 15, 18 inches high, 15 inches. And this painting and some of the naturalistic paintings made me think of a Danish artist named Hammershøi, Hammershoi.
Simon,
Yeah,
did we look at his Hammershoi's work in
yes, yes,
prayer? Yes,
yes,
I
yes.
thought
It is very very
right.
abstract work. Um, okay. Um, so I'm sorry about the words and letters here. This is a company that I think advertises and sells reproductions. Um, but in any case, it reiterates the idea that human beings, humanity, and how we live are her subject. Um, so next, I have a few photographs of her, and there really is a danger in looking at someone and thinking about what's going on in their head, because you can easily be fooled, and I mean really easily. But my sense is of a very private individual, um, willful, and um, maybe in some manner challenged. I can't explain that. Definitely melancholy in some way. Intense. Everything I said would apply to this one as well. um, it's a wonderful photograph. Sorry, this is a little out of focus, but this is another image of her. Um, okay, so I happened to see this uh, collection of three here, and I was very struck by it. And so these are three separate paintings, but somehow was put onto the internet as one. And these three paintings are in this exhibit. And what's interesting here is you can see the voyage from left to right. So the left, very naturalistic, one of the first paintings you see. The middle one, this transition stage, and the third one, another transition stage um, to leaving our planet Earth. Um, each jump is big from one to two and from two to three. Um, I think especially from my point of view, from one to two.
Are they all self-portraits?
They're all self-portraits, yes, they're all self-portraits. They are very serious, but they represent a different uh, attack mode, a different point of view. And during the exhibit, I was thinking to myself, gee, I wonder what would have happened if she didn't move from one to two. Because some of the paintings in section one are very well done, very strong. But then when you get from two to three, and you see the paintings in three, um, she bet on that movement, that transition. Or she didn't bet on it, she just did it. It was without thought, it just happened. But when you get to three, you really, you're really somewhere. But three might be a problem for other people, and three might be a problem for her. But three, um, if it's about art and producing an art that is reverberant, reverberating, intense, and heading towards what I call X, you got it in three. Okay, this is quite stunning.
Simon, I'm just curious, and for anybody else, does three remind you of some other artist? I feel like three reminds me of someone I can't put my
Yeah, it does. It does actually. It reminds me of Kollwitz.
It
Colvin.
reminds me of Frank Auerbach
It
a little bit,
a little bit.
a thin version.
Yeah, a little bit of Frank Auerbach, but maybe more easily decipherable.
Kolvich, yeah.
Kollwitz Um, it, I want to make sure I give you all a time to pitch in. So I don't want to say too much now. So in one of the reviews I read of this exhibit, nicely written review in the New Yorker, I think the writer's name is Zachary Fine. I'm not sure of the first name, but the last name is Fine. He makes a point that um, compared to other painters like Goya, like Rembrandt, like Kollwitz, this is even more trenchant. And he says that this is like a painting that was done from the grave. Okay. It's a very interesting statement. Um, let me continue with this then. So in that, towards the end of the exhibit, you have a whole panoply of self-portraits. And this was one of the early ones which relate to the painting of the convalescent, the young girl who was ill, the one I started with. So this painting is absolutely beautiful and lovely, far cry from the one we were just looking at. Um, this is the man who appears in the film,
Right, I know.
whose name is Einar, Einer. And so you're going to see the film and you'll understand more about him. He was a art critic, a writer, a forestry person, and I'm not sure what else. But there are two paintings of him in this exhibit. This one is on the left, and there's one on the right. The one on the right I couldn't find a reproduction of, but they're very interesting together. Um, so these are now quite advanced. Um, she's possibly in her 70s now. And these are not big. They're like 16 by 12, 18 by 12, something in that area. Now, in the exhibit at the Met, they did not have drawings that I have seen somewhere else. They only had paintings. So I'm going to clarify that soon. So this drawing was not in the exhibit. This was. So if you can do me a favor and I don't have to go back to the earlier paintings, but take the jump from those early paintings to this.
The 49 on the bottom does not relate to a date.
It says 45, I think.
Yeah, but it
It
Oh,
could,
it doesn't?
45.
it could be a date,
Could be
45,
45. Yeah,
1945. So
Year before she died.
yeah.
in
Well,
1945, she was, I would say, 81.
yeah.
Um, this is not very big at all. This is maybe, I would say, 12 inches, 14 inches high. Very, very striking, very upending.
It reminds me of Monk.
Yes, yeah. It's a very daring individual who would do this, or maybe not daring, but it appears to be daring. Very small, smaller than the image on my computer. This drawing is not in the exhibit, but I believe this was part of a grouping of drawings that were done after those paintings, or maybe at the same time, but it almost feels after. And I would guess that this drawing is maybe 12 inches high. This is in the exhibit. Some of these make me think of Goya. Renee said to me as we were walking through this particular area, she said to me, "These are very hard to look at." And I was quite surprised by what she said. And I said, "Yeah, I can agree with you, but as works of art or as an artist doing this, I mean, this is amazing. Uh, I mean, this is towards the high end of what you can do as an artist." And Renee said, "Yeah, but it's still hard to look at." So, sometimes in life and in art, there is a kind of duality.
Do you mean, Simon, when you say like hard, well, Renee said hard to look at, and you said, well, this is where artists go. Um, yeah. Do you
Well,
think,
I was thinking of it from myself, from my point of view, that if you could accomplish something like this, you are really dancing on the highest levels of what art should be. What did you want to say?
yeah, that it's getting to a different level in terms of expression?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean like profound level, like, to what makes human beings? What are human beings?
Right.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I think the reason it's so hard to look at is that it's facing like imminent death and decay in a way in our current culture people are very reluctant to do.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's very well said.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable and painful, but to portray this, um, this is going to sound weird, but to portray this is exhilarating.
To who?
to the for the artist to portray it. So she is on the one hand the person who is uh, losing it or aging, but on the other hand, she's the artist, and I'm sure this was a lot of fun for her. A lot of like uh, deep exploration. Doesn't that sound weird? But
No, I was going to say that in investigation, right? It's
yeah,
happening to her and she's able to
absolutely, absolutely. She's
investigate it.
she's taking it in and she's traveling. So in in the exhibit that I saw in Den Haag, which I talked about just before we started, the exhibit ends in a round room. And in that round room are a bunch of drawings that look like this, and that get more and more extreme. And I couldn't find, when I was looking for these, I couldn't find those drawings. I just I just drew a blank at finding them. So, and I didn't have enough time to photograph them from books that I have. But in those drawings, it looks almost like she's disappearing. The sense of herself looks like the left side of this drawing. Now, this one, I have a second one of, and I wasn't sure which one was right, so I just decided to use both of them. I don't know. I think this is stunning. Um, this one might be the better one, but they both look very good. But this might be the better reproduction. I think that this is the same drawing. And this one, um, I remember this drawing. I think this is called Last Drawing. And my hesitation in showing this to you is that this was the way I found the reproduction. But I think the whole drawing is much, much lighter. And it looks like, as I said, it looks like she's disappearing. Um, so we have a little bit of time now to look at to maybe talk about this. Oh, do any of you have a question now for me? Ron, do you have a question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, Simon, I'm wondering, I was just paging through, I'm sorry, I had a lot of internet connectivity problems, but I was just paging through the Metropolitan Museum site, which has many of the pictures. And there seems to be a very radical change in her style after 1908. Do they provide any explanation for that?
Um, I found that hard to understand, but the way it was portrayed or implied was that she had begun to be interested in modernist art, which related to Gauguin, Cézanne, maybe Edvard Munch as well. And she ends up seeing some of this art in Paris. She sees it before in reproduction, but she sees it in person in Paris. I didn't find that 100% convincing. I thought there's something else that took place, but I can't say what it is, and I couldn't read about what it is. And I haven't read enough in the catalog to understand that, but that would be very interesting to know. So I can't really answer your question except for what I said. Um, any other questions? So let me go to the screen where I can see all of you. Um, okay. So I'm curious to uh, hear some of how did any of you see this exhibit? Um, John, you saw it?
Yes, I saw the exhibit. I enjoyed it for the most part. I saw the movie, and that made the experience even more enriching. I'll tell you, the thing I was struck by in the movie was her. I found her to be a slow looker when it came to painting. I was very impressed by the way she would take a break, stand back, and just bear down on that last stroke or the overall composition. She worked very slowly. Um, I guess the movie mostly concentrated on that middle period. It didn't get into those darker paintings that many of which are shown in those latter years. But she really paid attention to each and every little stroke. I caught that review from Zach Fine, if that's his name in the New Yorker.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes that really turned me on there was he said, it's like her paintings are like a dozen little painted moments.
Mm.
And if I try to slow look at her paintings, I feel like you can feel her methodical, slow looking approach. She'll concentrate on a highlight and paint that highlight, and it sort of hovers there. She'll look at a shadow, and the shadow becomes an item. And with these soft edges, everything sort of coalesces. But it's seriously this little collection of slow moments. How does he put it? Individual little painted moments.
Well,
And
I just would like to say that in the end, those drawings are
mhm,
strike me as being very spontaneous. They're very gestural, and uh, Renee and I went in different directions in this
mhm.
exhibit, and Renee came back and said to me, I said, "Who are you speaking to down there? Did you meet someone you know?" And she said, "No, someone started speaking to me, and they asked a question, and uh, the question they asked was, did she have to go through uh, the first part to get to the second part?
Mm,
Did she have to get through the first part to get to the third part?" And
mhm.
Renee said, she thought she did.
Yeah,
Okay. And generally, I think that would be true. But
yes.
I actually happen to know someone who is a very good painter who skipped part one and part two and went straight to part three. Okay. But more power to her.
Right.
Okay. But skipped it, completely
Yeah,
skipped it. But
right.
I want to hear anyone else who's seen this exhibit in person. Uh, um, Anna, did you see it? You did. Oh, so what kind of response do you have?
Well, I'm so struck by how beautiful every painting is. And when she's young, she's a realist, but still very painterly, like you can really
Yeah,
see the
yeah,
brush
yeah.
Mm,
stroke and everything. And it's herself as a young person. And then it's like she has this ability to just show us who she is all the way through till she's 83.
Well, well
It's
said.
uncanny. It's like
Very
yeah,
well said.
very emotional
Yeah,
work.
very well said. Very well said. I agree entirely. Mary, did you see this? Mary, where are you?
Yeah, here.
Oh,
Yes, I did. I did. And I was very taken with it. It was an amazing exhibit. And the first part, I kept thinking to myself, how did I not know about this woman? She's so, she's a master, you know. I thought she's a
yeah,
master.
yeah, yeah,
And of course, she was a woman. So that's probably, woman, that probably had to do with it. And I couldn't believe as I went through the journey to the end, it just was so compelling. Those last paintings really reminded me emotionally of, like, I've had, I guess, the honor of being with some people when they left the
yeah,
planet.
yeah,
And it really captured that
yeah, yeah.
feeling. That, like, that's how they looked, not only her, you know, and I could have, the Spock ears at the end really kind of, I don't know,
Mm,
this was
mm.
great.
I want to get back to you in a second. Susan Charney, did you see this?
I did see it, and I want to add, she started, she was 4 years old. She was considered a child protege. So I think as she went on, I almost said this, that there was some kind of force that made her evolve to something new. And also, she was so private. I think that's partly why she wasn't known. And I think she lived in some isolated area. And uh, so and I also attended a series of lectures. There was a program about her work. And one of the things that they found, I think she was ahead of her time and very adventurous, that she scraped off
Yes,
her
yeah,
when they when they checked the X-ray, she would. I mean, I don't know if anybody did that in those days.
Yeah.
So I thought that I wasn't. I was a little too influenced by what we have seen since that has happened in art to appreciate how totally different she was.
Mhm.
yeah. Good, very good, very well said.
Yeah.
Who else saw this exhibit? Oh, Kathy.
Milk escalates into deeply uncomfortable PDA as the couple aggressively makes out in front of stunned guests.
Yeah, I saw it in December and plan to see it again, but I just felt she did so many. I mean, I love naturalistic work. I'm representational myself, so I was drawn to that. However, as you go through the exhibit and her expression evolves, it seemed like she was documenting her inner life, her inner feelings, and then in later in life, as she went through nearing death, in her maybe 70s, 80s. Yeah, I saw, especially when you just showed some of those drawings, you could see the skull. You could, see it plainly. So she was getting to that point and seemed to, by drawing it, it seemed like she was accepting it. She was accepting, her end. It seemed that way.
Um, anyone else? Anyone else who's seen the exhibit? Okay, anyone else in general?
I have a comment, but I'm not going to say very much because I'm going to write about it. But I disagree with you that she was having fun when she did some of those very dark works. I will write more about that, but yeah, I kind of differ with you on that.
I also do.
Point of view.
I accept your statement.
Okay.
I actually wanted to ask Mary a question. So, Mary, what I said before about where I said something about women and women artists. Um, uh, and I said that, like I've I've heard myself say something similar, and invariably someone comes up to me afterwards, or calls me, or writes to me, or sends up smoke signals and says, "You shouldn't have said that. That's a terrible thing to say." But the courage and the uh, bravado of doing this work, yeah, and for a woman to do this in the years 1880, 1890, 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, 40. I don't know. To me, it's totally amazing. I mean, it's sometimes something you say could be the wrong thing to say, but there's something to it. Um, Rita,
Simon, was she an outsider? Do you view her as an outsider artist?
um, no, no, but she is an outsider, not an outsider artist. She is an outsider, but I don't think she's an outsider artist because she was very well trained. I mean, outsider art is also untrained.
Okay.
That's the implication. Untrained.
Okay.
They do things on their own with their own enthusiasms outside of rules. Okay. She had the rules, and she explored and pushed out of those boundaries into something else. Um, Reed, I'm curious to know what you think of my um, the thing I was saying to Mary
About
about about possibly separating the female from the male.
well, I think in this case, it's apparent that this is what she was going through at that time in history. There's nothing wrong with pointing that out.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's
Yeah.
what I think. Yeah, that's uh, and and
Yes, I have a couple of questions or something to say about that too. So we think about society, right, and the roles that men and women were able to have or they played, and how far they could take it. And so I'm thinking of Mary Cassatt and people who were, artists who were dealing with domestic life and mothers and children and what women were supposed to do or what they did, I mean, and so I'm also thinking of, okay, this artist, Helene, she didn't have any children. She must have had, if she was not really well known or selling a lot of art, she must have had some way of surviving, like some kind of money.
I want to just come in here because
Yeah.
I didn't describe this well. She was well known in Finland, and she was supported. I don't know to what extent. It seemed to me that she was supported to some extent, lived very frugally and simply, and lived with her mother, so that she could save money and have a studio. Um, she was not unknown, but it wasn't like, super lucrative.
But she was also, oops, excuse me. She was also, she didn't follow the social norms of being married and having children, and
Yes,
and
yes,
so she was able to. I mean, she made those decisions, I guess, and she was able to.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and and like you said, she was frugal, so she could do it. And she was well known enough. But you're right. There's enough of a will to be, and a will to live differently, I guess, than the majority of women at the time. And so it does seem strange. There weren't as many women doing this or, maybe able to do this, depending on how you look at it.
But
It was the fault of the women. it was the fault of the men in the society and the women in the society who didn't pay as much attention to the women, even when
Exactly.
equally
The patriarchy, and it was a society that was oppressive. Yeah.
But what I wanted to add to Anne, what you said, which is very sharp, is that so she does this early period, and that's already a jump. That's already she's pushed out. She could have stayed with that. She could have just kept going with that. But she jumps to number part two, and then she jumps to part three. So I don't know why she does this. I mean, I can't say for sure. I can't say how conscious she is of this, or we would like to say she had all these choices and she chose this. I'm not sure, but the sum total of it is she took a lot of chances. She just kept going with that. And I think really good art does that. It doesn't repeat what past art did, and it finds something singular. And that's difficult, male or female. That's
Yep. And
really
it doesn't even repeat what you've owned, not other people, but also what you've done earlier. You don't repeat yourself.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So
That's fantastic.
I think she's a great example of the individuality, but I would say she's a great example for women of just doing it, just you're only, I mean, unless you know another example, as far as I can see, it's once around. And she had a good voyage in that once around. I hope you get to see this, Anne. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I hope to. Yeah. Now that I know that it's up until what was it, April 5th?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone else want to come in here? Um, John?
Well, you said something earlier, Simon, and it was when you on commenting on you and Renee going through the work, coming face to face with some of those darker paintings. And I think you said you found them exhilarating. Was that the word you used? You found her to be very valiant. And I think that's fair. I think the exhilaration from your point of view comes from coming face to face with somebody that is that brave and that honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who's willing, brave enough to go that deep. And I find her very valiant, very brave.
Yeah.
To face death.
Very well said.
And paint it with such a brutal honesty. I give her kudos for that.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Really terrific. Ron, do you want to add something?
I've just been thinking about the nature of society, that we don't find many women carpenters at that time either. And art, in a sense, is a craft where if one were to need to earn a livelihood in it, typically at that time, the male would have been expected to be the provider. Mm-hmm. And the place for women, the opportunity for women would have been very limited. Mm-hmm. I think of my late wife's experience at the law school coming in as a freshman, where they were told that 30 of them in a class of 500, that they were there, but they were really had to understand they were taking up the place of a man who had to look out for a family.
Yeah.
I think that attitude can be quite pervasive still in many places.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to just make sure that I call on people that I haven't heard from. Wendy, do you have a response to this? to the artist,
Um,
the artist.
sure. Yeah, I have not been to the exhibit yet, although I plan to go. And what I kept thinking of was that when I signed on for my Zoom, it asked me if I wanted to touch up my appearance, and it was going to give me better eyebrows. I swear these are my real eyebrows. And I just having that opportunity or that offer made to me, and then to see the drawings at the end, and I kept being struck by, I mean, she was frightening to look at, but there was also, I felt pity for her. I felt compassion. I felt there could be beauty in something so dark. It's so human. It was very moving to me. So I look forward to seeing the exhibit very much.
That's great. That's great. Um, so Barbara from the Dillmans, what do you think? What do you feel to say?
Well, as someone who's getting on in years myself, I really felt how brave she was when I saw those later pictures.
Hmm.
It's so when I look in the mirror, I sort of change what I see, and I don't look right at what I really look like now, I think.
I think that you need Wendy's Zoom
That's,
to start with.
well, I think I have it internally, actually.
Let me see if I got everyone in here. Uh, Kathleen.
I had two things going back to women in art. Uh, she was doubly brave because she didn't well, I assume she didn't have any female role models. That's really tough when you've never seen anybody do it or any woman
Well
do it.
said. Very well said.
And also about the impact of those last drawings. The one word that comes to mind is anguish.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, in the film, if the film is on target, you sense someone with a great deal of pride and a great deal of an inner life, that she communed with. Um, and she doesn't let on, but in a way she does let on. Um, do you want to add something, Carol? Okay. Um,
I was just going to say, did she spend most of her life in Finland, or did she stay in Paris when she moved there?
no, she spent most of her life in Finland.
So,
If my memory is right, I think she was from the Swedish speaking part of Finland,
mhm.
but she spent most of her life in Finland. She visited Paris maybe more than once, but I think the first one was uh, some fellowship that she got to study there from the government in Finland.
I was thinking that the climate, the environment, that cool northern environment that leads to more depression and more anguish might have something to do with her later work.
That's a very good. Uh, that's very good. I mean, not very good, but it's very perceptive.
Mhm.
So it does fall into a certain direction, and the direction would be Ingmar Bergman, um, that world,
Mhm.
Scandinavian writing and art, Knut Hamsun. Um, um, the movie is terrific, and I hope you see it. I'd be curious to know your thoughts about it.
Mhm.
Um, oh, Charles.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. But one thing just came to me about Finnish culture. I love to cross country ski, and a lot of the people who set up cross country skiing places in the States are from Finland. And
Oh,
there's this Finnish word, I don't know if you've heard it, sisu, which
Sisu.
it's sort of a word that embodies like determination and grit and just doing what needs to be done. And you know,
Never say never.
yeah,
White knuckled, never give up.
right. And so that really does kind of fit her personality that comes out through her trajectory. And that might have something to do with the Finnish culture she grew up in. But what I was going to say in reaction, actually, there are several other artists that she makes me think of, and both Barbara and I, when we saw her work, thought of another woman artist of a similar period, Paula Modersohn in Germany,
yes, yes.
and it seemed like they had similar trajectories.
I,
And
I agree totally.
But
Yeah.
over a shorter time
yeah,
period.
Modersohn Becker died
Yeah.
very young. That's right, but she
Yeah.
was moving in a similar way.
Yeah, last year, I think, or maybe the year before, we studied her. There was an exhibit,
Could you
and
give me the name again? Could
Paula
you say the
Paula Paula Modersohn Becker. Paula, Paula, and then her second name is Modersohn, Modersohn dash Becker, Becker.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I never heard of her.
Yeah. I agree with you, Charles. John?
We haven't talked about this, and for those of you who haven't seen the movie, but the movie makes it very clear that a large part of her anguish, I'm not sure if it's the anguish she depicts in her paintings, but I can't believe it didn't influence her somehow. She was very, very disappointed in the relationship with Einar that never consummated. She had very high hopes that that was going somewhere. And then she felt like the rug was pulled out from under her. In fact, it sent her to the hospital with an anxiety attack or a nervous breakdown. So I felt so bad for her. Because she was a prodigy. She was awarded by the state. She had a dealer that recognized her talent. And she was a success in many ways, but except in this relationship. And that nearly destroyed her.
You're totally right. Add another part to this. Again, it's my assumption. She's got this relationship with him, and I think I've read that she wrote more than 1,000 letters to him.
Yeah.
But when you see them depicted in the film, she does nothing to pursue him. She does nothing to cajole him. She does not attempt to seduce him. She's very proud, and she's almost like saying, "Read my mind. You should want me," but she doesn't do anything. She's very inward.
Right.
And he either isn't interested or doesn't get it. One or the other.
Yeah, I think he was on a different wavelength. I don't think he purposely meant to hurt her, but his intentions were to get to know her as an artist. And in fact, he wrote her biography.
Yeah,
and I'm sure the movie is based in large part on what he put down on paper.
That's right. It's very sad, actually.
Yeah, when he returns to see her and brings this young fiance of his, and she
That's
used to stay
bone
with her.
crushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Len, I didn't hear from you. Any overview?
I like her work very much. I like her journey. Um, her early work evoked sort of Renoir maybe for me, and some of the earlier stuff, um, maybe Courbet or David, more of the realistic. And then there's a very nice sort of letting go in her middle period,
Yeah.
right? I see a little more of, maybe the monk influence, or even if in some of the works I was looking at off to the side, maybe some Toulouse-Lautrec. She starts to kind of let go and become more abstract, a little more expressionist. And then in the end, of course, she just completely lets it go. She just lets it go entirely, and just and you get into maybe more like a Sheila, where just the lines of the drawings communicate so much, without color, without detail, and just the lines, the bare essence. So it really it shows. I mean, you mentioned about being her taking risk, being an artist who takes risk. And it's hard to know if she thought of herself as taking risk, or if she was just following instinct and just on an evolutionary, journey. But I like respect that journey.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say before. Um, I think this has been great. So anyway, tomorrow or later tonight, I'll send you the recording, and I'll write a little bit more about what an essay looks like, at least to me. And don't start writing right away. I want to give you the topics, but I want to do this in a gradual way. Um, it's very rare for me to say an exhibit not to be missed. Okay. So it really spoke very deeply, and maybe it's going around in a circle. Maybe I like that. So you see the whole voyage in one circle. Um, anyway, from that circle to this circle, I bid you good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good
Take care.
night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Philippa, I want to mention something. Are you still here? Philippa? Philippa? Oh, well, can't. Um, so, you've been okay, Ron? You're okay?